Hello, it's Lion, and really quickly before the video starts, I do want to mention that this was recorded over a month ago, so if I reference anything like in the previous video and it doesn't really make sense, it's because it was supposed to reference the videos I made a month ago. But yeah, thank you guys very much, and I hope you enjoy the video. Hello YouTube, it's Lion here with Hobbies of a Man once again, and today we are doing another manga video. Now today's manga video is going to be a review of Rosario Vampire, volumes 1, 2, and 3. Here, let me show you that properly. So, we're going to review all 3 of these. I'm not really sure if there's qualifies as an arc. The story is kind of set up differently from like large-scale story elements, but yeah. So, Rosario Vampire is written by Akihisa Ikeda, I don't know. Who changed their pen name recently, I think. They draw Ghost Reaper Girl, or like draw and write Ghost Reaper Girl, and they have it under a different name, but they're the same person. You can tell right off the bat from their art, and I read an article somewhere about it. So yeah, it's published by Viz Media, as you guys can see right there. The Shonen Jump Advance, which is kind of like the older kids version, or like the older teens, but it's defunct now. I think they just have everything under Shonen Jump. The genre is comedy, harem, and supernatural, basically. The harem and ecchi kind of stuff doesn't really come into play that much. Like, it's there and it's like visible, but it's not very titillating or very like out there. It's not like High School DxD or True Love Ru or something like that. It's kind of toned down and more for like teenager, or like young teenagers will probably find it really interesting, but older teenagers and adults will probably be just like whatever. And yeah, it does have an adaptation. I think it's 13 episodes, and I've never watched it, but apparently it's good, although it's not very clear, like similar to the source material. I think it like plays up the ecchi and it downtones the story, if I remember correctly. But that's it. I haven't really watched it. So the premise here is that a teen boy ends up at a yokai school by accident, and he befriends a vampire. And then when he was going to leave, he decides to stay because he basically likes her, and he's risking death to even be near her, but it's worth it, basically. That's the premise. So I'll give you the plot for each book, and then we'll talk about everything else together. So book 1 is the intro, the setup, and then bad guy, school stuff, basically. So if you ever watched the CW show where it's Monster of the Week and they're like in a high school setting and they just have to deal with that bad monster for the day, like kind of like Teen Wolf, kind of, it's like that. That's basically the same idea. There's a bad guy, and he's a specific type of monster, and they like her, or they want to do something with her, and our main character kind of gets in there. He's like, no, he's the good guy. She has to protect him at the end because he doesn't have any powers, and they just do that over and over again. This book specifically focuses more on the setup. So you basically get the basic school stuff. You introduce who he is, who she is, and club activities, because, you know, they have to have a reason to stay at school all day, so they have to have a club. It's pretty funny. It's enjoyable. You can't really be mad at the setup. It's okay. It's not bad. Then book 2 kind of expands on that. We have a lot more bad guy of the week kind of stuff. The monsters are interesting, and the setup continues. We finally get a kind of antagonist here, and specifically one that Sukune can deal with. And then we get some new friends, and a lot of character development, and some student/student council, or school/student council kind of bad guys show up. They're just basically school bullies, because, you know, in Japanese manga, the school council, the student council, has like immense amounts of power for some reason, although like for us in the US, they're just kind of like irrelevant. And then book 3 is the battle of the clubs, basically, and Sukune has to battle for his life, and there's big drama, big fights, a misunderstanding that really shouldn't have been a misunderstanding, but it still is. And then there's some romance development, and I think this is probably my favorite of the 3 books that I read for the series. There's, I think, a total of 21, and it's enjoyable. I really like them. I think the kind of overall plot line that's developing across the volumes is really good. It's kind of this like star-crossed fated lovers from different worlds that kind of have to figure out a way to interact and be together beyond the fact that they really shouldn't. And I like that. I'm not a big fan of romance, but I think romance stories like that are pretty good. They're pretty interesting, and they can be really cool. The harem element comes in with the succubus character. So she's a vampire, or well, yeah, she's a vampire and she's a succubus, and she really likes his blood, and she's his friend, and she kind of feels accepted by him, although humans regularly don't accept her. And then she kind of wants him because the other girl has him, and then kind of develops feelings for him in a way, and that's where the harem element comes in. But obviously it's not like Western harem. There's not like any payoff. It's just kind of like cutesy comedy and like raunchy moments that really aren't that raunchy. Yeah, so the characters here, Sukune Ano, he's an MC. He's good emotions and good values and morals and stuff, but he's super average. And I don't know why, but a lot of the characters here kind of gave me vibes for other characters in other stories. Like Sukune Ano is basically Tadano from Komi Can't Communicate. He's like that normal guy that understands that special girl that everyone's super interested in, and he doesn't really have anything to offer, but he still cares, and that's really the important thing. And he's like just really, really average and normal. We have Maka, who's the good girl with a dark secret. She's a vampire. She's good at stuff, and has a kind of dual personality. Like, she's really sweet and kind of ditzy as a normal person, and then as a vampire, she's like this super regal, queenly presence, and it's really interesting. I quite like her. I think she's a really interesting character. And then we have Kurumu, who's the succubus. She's thick, whereas she's more like sultry, sexy, kind of that kind of style, versus where Mocha is kind of more like a sweet girl with like a different type of aesthetic. And Kurumu's really into Sukune after a while. Kurumu's not my favorite out of the female characters, but she's really fun. I think she's funny. But yeah, then we have Yukina, who's basically Megumi, but like not as crazy. Like, she's a Chinubi character. She's a witch. She's really young. Everyone else is like 14, 15, and she's like 11. She's a super genius, apparently. And literally, she's just like Megumin. And I don't know if Megumin is based on her, or if that kind of like, lolly witch thing is like really popular in Japan. I think it is. But like, this is a very specific type of lolly witch that basically looks the same, and they act more or less the same. It's kind of interesting. I quite like it. But I don't know. She's not fun when she's introduced. She's fun when she mellows out and kind of just gets the quirkiness without being like an annoying little girl. And then we have Gin, who's like the werewolf guy. He does cool stuff, but he's kind of like annoying as well. And then the world building here is really good. The monster types are really interesting. There's lots of cute versions, and then there's lots of monstrous versions, and I think that's really cool. Kind of a mix and match. It kind of reminds me of Jamie Hawk's Monsterverse books. The first one I did a review on, it's up there if you guys want to watch it. It's Monster Go in My Closet. And basically, a lot of the female characters look really, appealing, and then a lot of the male characters look kind of monstrous, and it's kind of interesting. But then it kind of changes when the female characters kind of stop looking like humans, and they kind of out their monster versions, and then they look pretty monstrous, most of them. And I think it's cool. I don't really get why Maka needs the Rosario. Like, why does she need to hide her power if she basically just looks human? Is it like a presence thing? Like, is she so powerful that it oppresses other people because her presence is so powerful, or what? I don't really get it. I'm interested in the hierarchy of the monsters. Like, everyone says that vampires are the strongest. And witches are really strong too, but they're kind of like ostracized because they're in between. But why are vampires not in between? They're literally just humans that suck blood. Why are they not like ostracized like witches are? It's kind of interesting. I don't know. I want to know why some monsters look the way they do and why some others don't. And I like the kind of different takes that they have. Like, Medusa isn't necessarily a Lamia or like a really ugly Gorgon. Or a Lamia. She's just kind of like a woman with snaky hair. And I think that's cool. The mermaids were interesting. Oh, I think it was a siren. I can't remember the which one it was, but it was like a really monstrous type of mermaid, and I thought it was cool. I don't know. I'm just interested in the monsters a lot. Like, what type of monster is common? What type of monster is uncommon? How does, like, if a vampire and a werewolf have a kid, what type of monster is the kid? Is there like a mixed version or something, or is it like the parent, the female parent is the one that decides, or the male parent is the one that decides what type of monster they are? You know, a lot of these questions that really never get answered, I'm interested in them. Just because I think it's cool. The art's pretty good. Sometimes it's amazing. Sometimes it just feels kind of stilted. Like, there's no motion to the art. And that kind of sucks. But I guess it's kind of normal for these type of artists. Like, they're really good at drawing still images, but they're not good at conveying motion through their image, which kind of sucks, but it's fair. I mean, I'm not going to really get mad at it. It's okay. Fan service wise, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, if I was 14 years old, this would be like super cool, but I'm not. Skimpy clothes for some of the adult female characters. Very light, very basic. Overall, it was pretty mild. Like, I don't know, it just was. But if you're not into any of that, don't read this. It's not that great. So rating, I don't know. I would rate each of these about the same. I don't think there's one that's significantly better than the other. And overall, I did enjoy these. I read them pretty fast. I didn't dislike anything in the books. But I didn't really love anything either. But I don't want to put it in the middle. I don't want to give it a 2.5 because that's like mediocre average, and I think that this is definitely above that. But I don't want to give it a 5 either. So I think a 3.5 is a good place to put it. Like, it's cool, it's interesting, it's pretty fresh to me. I would have liked some other stuff out of it, but it's good. So a 3.5 is where I would rate all of these volumes. Each of them is a 3.5, and that's basically, I definitely recommend it, but I don't recommend it strongly. It's just kind of like, if you get to buy some of these volumes, definitely pick it up and enjoy it if you like. And if not, you don't really miss out on anything yet. So that's it. So similar titles, Ghost Reaper Girl, because it's from the same author. And it basically functions pretty similarly, honestly. And like I mentioned earlier, Masters of the Monsterverse by Jamie Hawk. And I'm trying to think of something else. I mean, High School DxD, Demon King Diamao. This kind of like high school monster type of things. If you're looking at something Western beyond Masters of the Monsterverse, it would be just kind of like CW TV shows like Originals, Vampire Diaries, Teen Wolf, although Teen Wolf is not a CW show. But you guys kind of get what I mean, is that's like high school supernatural shows, and it basically works. But yeah, that's basically it. Thank you guys very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below if you did enjoy. And yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.